Have you ever gotten to a point where you felt like nothing was happening, things weren't going your way, so you stopped praying? I know that happened to me. And I know I was weighed down with motherhood, I was weighed down with working, not having a second to myself ever. My husband going through health battle, and at the time he was getting ready to have another surgery, and not having a time to really process things and just have a moment to myself to think or to figure out a plan. And when I did sit down to try to figure out a plan, it would seem like that plan was not going to work because it would involve me having a lot of time on my hands to execute it, and then a lot of money to execute it. So every time I turned around, I felt like I was backed into a wall. And then sometimes people can plant seeds as well. And the devil can literally use anyone. And that person probably doesn't even know they're being used. And so I pray, well, at the time, I would pray all the time. And I stopped. And I stopped for a number of reasons, as I mentioned. And also, someone said to me, well, all the praying you're doing, you should have had your prayers answered by now. And it just really like knocked the wind out of me because I started really thinking about it like they're right. All the praying I'm doing, like something should have manifested, something should have happened, something should have turned around. And so I really took that personal and I took it to heart and I started getting upset with God, like, the things that you told me, the things that you said, the things that you promised me. And yes, some of those things have manifested, God. Like I have the two kids after 7 years of infertility. Even before having my kids, I was married. I was at the time had a career. Like things were happening and then things stopped happening, if that makes sense. And so I was confused, like, why did you drop me off in this situation and leave me? It's kind of like being stranded in the middle of an ocean and no one's going to come save you. And no one did come save me. Let me just put it that way. No one came to save me. I had to paddle my way with my hands back to the shore. No one came to save me, not a person. Okay. And I think that's less about the person per se and maybe more about what you may have to go through in that season and battles that you may have to fight in that season to help somebody else. And I was just like, okay, I'm not going to pray. I'm not praying. There's no purpose. And not that there's not a purpose in praying. I just felt like I had said those things redundantly over and over again. And I felt that there was truth to what the person said. Well, all the praying you're doing, your prayers should have been answered. So I was like, okay, so well, the prayers I said are just going to have to work. They're out there and that's it. And so I wasn't praying. I had to be like maybe a couple months, like I wasn't praying at all. And one night I was up late and I'm just on YouTube, just watching stuff and, going to people's channels. And this minister popped up on my page. I hadn't seen him before, I had never heard of him before. And so, if you're watching something on YouTube, watch like the first minute or something, the first 30 seconds, and you're off to the next thing. And so I started watching it, and the maybe first 30 seconds of his message was like, when you stop praying, you open the doors, the spiritual doors for your house basically to be naked, for your house to be open, for the enemy to then come in and to do you more damage, for the enemy to come in and, wreak havoc because there's no one covering your home, there's no one praying over your home. And that caught my attention right away. Like I sat up in the bed and I was like, oh my God, like I've been tricked. Like I've been tricked. And so I remember at that, I stayed in the bed. I sat up, but I stayed in the bed and I said a prayer then. Cause I was like, oh my God, like no one's covering my house. Like I haven't said a prayer. I haven't done anything. And so I said a prayer then. And then I thought about, just as a mom, in general, or when I say I wasn't praying, I wasn't doing like my everyday praying. Like when my daughter went to school, I would still pray over her. If my son, because he would see me pray for my daughter, like I would pray over him. I would put all in the set and pray over him. But I wasn't doing my regular routine praying where I was interceding and believing and asking God for things and thanking God for things and just spending time. And through that process, I realized that again, someone close to you can be used by the devil, okay, to trick you out of things that are part of your makeup, part of what God has put in you, which is to pray, which is to believe in it, even when things are not going your way, to continue to believe. And then the second part of that is, when we stop praying, we are not giving a voice to the things that um, God has intended for us, the things, or even fighting for the things that God has intended for us. Because even if you've gotten a word or like a word of prophecy, like I was prophesied to about having kids, and through that 7 year process, I had given up many times. Like, okay, this is not going to happen. Just forget about it. I was, doing other things. But then I would always come back to, you know, praying about it again and, waging a good war over what God had promised me, which was that I was going to be a mom, and I am a mom of two, which He said too. Um, and so sometimes, even when things are not going the way we intended it to go, or we feel like our prayers not being heard, we still have to wage a good war over the things that God has promised us and over the things that we believe that we are supposed to have, that things are part of our inheritance. And so I would encourage you today, even if something is not going your way or something, didn't work out the way you intended to, don't just give up. Don't just stop praying, because that was a trick. That was a trick that I fell into. And even from that time, I guess that was 2 years ago, when I went through that period for a couple of months where I was like, I'm not going to pray, to now, like things definitely 1000% have gotten better. Things are not where I want them to be, but they 1000% got better. And I feel like part of it getting better was me getting up and me taking authority and taking control and praying and getting back into the things that I should be doing. And even as a mom, like your kids watch you. Like the other day, and I'll talk about that in a couple of days. Me and my daughter, like she said to me, like, I want to pray over you, like, and she prayed over me. But like kids watch you and they watch the things you do. Even one time when I was stressed out about a job, she I think she was 5 or about to turn 5 at the time. She wrote me a note, which I still have on a card, like a card that she wrote. It's like two hearts on it, and it was the card. And she put, "Mom, you will have a job," and I still keep that. I keep it in my bathroom, like on the side of the mirror, just as a reminder. Like God could use anybody. He could use a 4 year old, almost 5 year old at the time, to relay a message for us not to stress, not to worry. But even more importantly, we need to continue in our household to be the example, and don't let the enemy trick us out of something that, God's looking to hear from us. He's looking to hear our voice. And then He will send reminders. Even Sunday, I was just like, okay, God, what's the plan? Like, what's going on? What's the plan? And me and my daughter were driving home, and we saw a rainbow, and just reminded us of, both of us, of His promises. And she's yelling, I'm yelling, like, there's a rainbow. She's screaming, there's a rainbow. And that's not the first time we saw a rainbow. Like we've seen them, multiple times. There was even one over our house one day. But whenever we see one, like I get really excited and I'm like, screaming, there's a rainbow. And like now she's excited. So she was like trying to grab my phone, like, I'm taking a picture, I'm taking a picture of it. We pulled over into the store parking lot, like trying to get a picture. But it's just that important that whenever, God has a plan for your life, that He is a promise keeper. He does not forget about the things that He's promised us, but we still have to wage a good war over that promise. And whether for you, whether it's kids like me, like you desired to have kids and it wasn't happening, and you had to fight, or maybe you're still in that fight to have children, continue to pray about it each and every single day. Continue to petition about it. If whether it's a job or career, like me, I'm in that space right now with a job and career, and I'm like, God, what's the plan? That's my petition every single day. Like, what is the plan? What are we doing? Let me know, make it clear, and I'm putting that out every single day. So whatever it is for you, make it known. Don't get quiet. Don't disappear. Most importantly, don't stop praying. Continue to stay in it and continue to believe. In the same way, like whatever you are petitioning for, the same way God moved for me in certain areas that I was believing for, like having kids after 7 years of infertility, He will move for you. Just continue to believe and don't give up.